Good afternoon, our dear Mainblades fans. Today we're talking to Tobias Wentzler. He's one of the few persons who have been involved with the drone industry in a very specific way. He has led the drone operations at Lufthansa in the early days and also is now on the front line with DJI, one of the world's largest manufacturers of drone equipment.
I started my drone career, I would say, probably with 5, when I was very, very much interested into model flying. I assembled the first model flying aircraft to throw by hand. And then at the point to decide what I would like to study, I decided to go into the industrial engineering with a focus on aerospace engineering and aviation management. And then I had the lucky chance to join Lufthansa Aerial Services, which was a project 5 years ago, I think, where Lufthansa decided to start a drone journey project. And we have done a lot of interesting test drives, inspecting aircrafts, inspecting highways, inspecting power lines. I flew in helicopters, inspecting power lines. That was a very nice experience. But also, of course, using a drone to inspect aircrafts was a very nice experience, standing very close to those giant aircraft and feeling this huge giant impression of technology, the huge machines. That was a very nice experience. And flying to a lot of partners in Europe or even all over the world with Lufthansa and DJI, getting to know all these different kind of technology thoughts and what startup people are doing, that was very interesting for me.
So the first question I would like to ask you is, what is innovation to you? What does innovation stand for in your mind, from your experience at Lufthansa, at DJI, whatever you have been in?
It's a very interesting word, and I think so far to me it always meant something new. It's always creating a new product, but it can also be something related to workflow, creating more efficient, more robust workflows. And of course, it's a lot of times also connected to customers. So a new customer experience or even accessing a new market of a company. So being very innovative in the term that you're accessing a new market, or maybe even just creating a new market. So drones have created for sure a new market. Also, Apple has created new markets with iPhones and tablets.
Yeah. What would you, if you would pinpoint something as the proudest achievement or the coolest achievement, what would that be? If you could pinpoint that?
Probably very much at the beginning of my career when I integrated a transponder into a drone. The whole runway at Frankfurt Airport was closed, and we started to inspect the runway, where I myself still was an intern. So I think that was definitely one of
a technical challenge. Achieving a technical challenge is
a bit of a technical challenge.
Still
also
most rewarding.
Very, very big stakeholders from aviation authorities and like DFS, the German Air Traffic Control. So that they are trusting you and that it works. I remember that we had quite a tough time, but finally it worked. And I think that was probably one of the decisive moments also for me to say, okay, you would like to stay inside this industry, make something happen, and maybe even contribute to change.
And then you moved to DJI.
Exactly. Then I moved to DJI. I saw the capabilities of DJI drones because we use DJI drones at Lufthansa. We made an agreement with DJI to support us.
How does your current role support that?
I'm talking a lot about drones, how to use drones, what are drones good for. I think a lot I can take from my previous experience at Lufthansa, but also a lot of experience while I'm at DJI. I learned a lot from Chinese colleagues in China because the industry in China for the use of drones is already quite advanced.
Much more.
In some areas, very much ahead of the rest of the world. So that was very interesting to learn from Chinese companies, sub-companies working with DJI products that have already created solutions in China for the Chinese market.
How are they changing the landscape of the different industries? You say they are more moving faster there. So what do you see there that's happening, and what do you expect here to happen then in the future?
I think it's providing more information to decision makers on all hierarchy levels. So drones are equipped with sensors, and these kind of sensors, either they can retrieve more in-depth information than the human being with eyes or ears or touching surfaces, but sometimes they're just more efficient and faster to access those kind of information required in terms of sensing with the human eye or touching. If you imagine a cherry picker above 50 or 60 meter above the ground, maybe the heart rate starts to increase, and you're losing also your concentration
abilities,
of the human being. And I think with drones being flying robots, that's a very, very interesting thing, and that's what contributes initially at the first place. But of course, then you need to step further, how to integrate the drone in existing workflows. There are a lot of companies who already have very good workflows, and you have always seen this also in the past. Companies stick to their workflows, but if they are not open-minded, they will, at some point in time, they will be overrun by companies that are more open, trying out new technologies.
What are the most interesting applications you've seen of industrial drone applications?
What was really fascinating to me was the inspection of wind turbines, which was also a bit similar to the inspection of
aircraft,
Aircraft, yes, absolutely. I also think inspection of power lines and power poles is also a very fascinating thing to me.
What was fascinating about the wind turbines, apart from that they're huge and so you have to go all the way up?
Yeah, it's probably seeing this very, very small drone compared to this very, very large asset. And suddenly you realize how complicated it is actually to inspect it. It seems to be so obvious, but it's quite a challenge.
What do you think makes DJI the best brand? Does it make DJI the best brand for drones and in the market today? I mean, we have a feeling it does, but
for sure, yeah.
What are the parameters that make the difference, do you think, from your perspective?
I think one of the parameters is that DJI has taken the or used the leverage of the consumer market, focusing on the mass market, to create this very, very good piece of technology. High performance. Of course, the flight controller. I remember when we first used DJI drones and we compared them to different manufacturers. The stability of DJI drones and the ease of use. You just switch it on and it works. One of the core elements. And then now we are already way ahead of this, let's say 5 years ago, status of technology. And now, of course, it's the transition from consumer drones to enterprise drones, where DJI has decided to open the platform. There were a lot of challenges companies had to utilize these very, very high performant consumer drones for the enterprise industry.
Yes.
And that was also a challenge, of course, for DJI. How can you adjust these incredibly well-designed consumer drones for an industry?
What would you project as your vision for the drone technology in aviation? Do you have one?
I have a bit one, yeah, of course.
Yeah.
So when I studied aviation management, I already thought, okay, why is it so difficult to not just use GPS for aircraft? And then again, when I worked for Lufthansa and integrated the transponder into drones, it's not a difficult part, but what is such a challenge is the regulation. The aircraft market, or the aircraft industry, has gone a very long road. If you think from 18th century,
When I started flying, yeah.
and then the Second World War, and then how long it still took for the commercial aviation industry to reach a phase half a year ago, before the crisis. There was a very long road, and there are so many regulations in place that have to be changed also for these new players coming on board into this industry. The biggest challenge for I think for the drone industry, because drones are for sure contributing to the society. There is a big benefit drones are providing. Saving lives, increasing also the profitability of companies. Creating documentations where you can start to monitor the involvement of equipment. This is
just digitalization of the whole
digitalization, exactly.
Industry. Do you think that the aviation industry is one of the front runners of innovation? I think it is. But do you think that? And is it still that, or is are the regulations, these kind of sectors?
Yes, I had a bit this. So when I studied, of course, I thought the aircraft industry is a very innovative industry, and as a technology leader, I very well remember my mentor at the German Research Institute. in Braunschweig when I dropped the wording that aircrafts are more sophisticated than cars. You know, there's a Volkswagen VW in Wolfsburg, very close to Braunschweig where I studied, and she said, okay, don't tell this to our guys, because of course there was a lot of research ongoing also for Volkswagen. And then I started to think about it. And I mean, also cars are very sophisticated and very complex things. So it's just a question how much advanced this technology already is, how much years have been spent for developing this. And you can see examples like Ryanair, where you can see also the lessee of aircraft from big financial institutions. Where you can see that maybe the aircraft industry is not so innovative anymore. What you have, I mean, revenue management is that's also a thing where the airline industries is still very advanced and ahead of. I think in some parts, the aircraft industry or the commercial transport passenger aircraft industry is still technology driven, but it's very different to drones because you have so many regulations that you need to take care of, and this of course blocks a lot, really a lot. And the more I am working in this drone industry, the more I think, okay, politicians also need to decide how much they want to support the road of digitalization, how much they want to allow drones to be explored more freely, against drones are being a threat or drones are imposing
dangerous
to the society, which for sure is the case. You need to make risk management. That's a very good approach also with the SORA that EASA has taken. I just think from my perspective also, because of course I'm in the industry, I would say I would like to see a bit more support.
And I think I fully agree that maybe it's not innovative, but it does slowing the pace in a certain sense. I had one more challenge about what challenges do you think that main blitz will have, but I think we talked about that already with respect to certifications. But what are the opportunities that we should be prepared for while introducing our drone-powered solutions to the aviation market?
Yeah, I think this is the first step, of course. And then the second steps is the scalability of your product, both from a technical perspective and business perspective. So I think choosing the right partners and also customers who have a common ground, finding the biggest common ground of the customer base to, I would say, quickly scale your solution. That's probably a very important thing to follow. I'm very excited how you will move forward. I think you were one of the players, skyrocketing for sure within the last months and years. I remember when I had the first contact with you, and there has been a lot of improvement, or let's say a lot of success. Not improvement, but it was already very successful from the beginning, the whole concept. I liked it very much. And I think there is just one or two players who were on par with you probably. In the world I know of, but I think you will have a bright future ahead of you, and also expanding solutions to different verticals. When having started inside this specific aircraft inspection, we have talked about it, inspection of wind turbines and other assets. Pretty similar, and just creating the workflow and the solution, having engineers inside your team who will be able to find a new way of setting up things with drones. And I'm very excited which one is the next you're going to target.
Very cool. Thank you for the nice words. For now, we have to get these babies up and running again, and try to help bring our solution to the market for a more efficient maintenance process so that the aviation can run efficiently.